So for my project, I wanted to create a simple application to help out with automating PowerShell module testing using different software tools like, or different PowerShell modules like psdeploy, psaki, and pester for testing. So if we can take a look at these two files, I have a serverinfo.test.ps1 where this should be false, and a serverinfo.test.ps1 should be true. The only difference between the two is obviously this true or false here. And so if we take a look at what modules that they are belonging to, this fail module and this pass module, so we expect this one to pass and this one to fail when we test it with our Node.js application. So if I go ahead and start our backend, I am using an Express backend for a web API. It is running on port 3001, as you can see here. I am also using a React front-end app, and so they're completely separated, which I thought was really cool, something I wanted to try. This one's running on port 3000. It's also a single-page application. That was another thing that I wanted to try for myself. I've never done that before, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to learn how to do. So let's go ahead and get right into it. One thing I want to show real quick is the different files that belong to each one of these modules. So if we take a quick look here, we have this build file, this psaki build file, server info, and serverinfo.tests. This is where our actual commandlets are living. This is where our pester tests live, and this is to deal with our psaki as well as just kind of setting up the environment for our actual build. These are all different files that are used for testing, and this is for testing PowerShell modules. And all of these files are inside this fail module, or just like other modules we're going to be testing. They all have these files. We're going to be passing in zip files because that's the easiest way to pass files or groups of files across the web. So, or at least that I know of, and so that's why I wanted to implement in this project. So we'll go ahead and get right to it. Here I gotta go to, let's go ahead and choose a file, and so let's put in a fail module. So like I said, it takes in a zip. So one thing I just want to show real quick, it has the option between HTTPS or file. Oh shoot, I gotta put in another one. The HTTPS doesn't work right now. I just have been able to get the file to work. The HTTPS was kind of my idea, is to have it pull from, you could put in a public repository path for a GitHub or something like that, and then you could pull it in, test it, and then, tell you if it's passing or not. I think that'd be something I'd want to add with like a webhook or something. And then that could be something I'd want to implement in a different way, but still something neat that I'd like to get around to. So we'll go ahead, we have this choose file, we're going to submit it. We're going to see some random little blue blips on our screen here. This is we're running PowerShell, a PowerShell session inside of our Node.js app using, I did an npm install of node-PowerShell, which was really cool. It lets you run a PowerShell session inside of your, inside your Node.js application. It lets you do a lot of cool things. It gives you the option to do either the PowerShell framework or PowerShell core, so anything up to 5.1, as well above PowerShell 6 and 7 with the PowerShell core. PowerShell 6 and up is going to be the cross-platform version. So they're a little different, but lets you do both, which I thought was really neat because, I mean, especially with PowerShell modules, you need to know what you're going to be able to use and what you're not going to be able to use. And so this will be another test of validation. That could be something that could be added with like Docker containers and setting those up. That'd be something I'd like to move towards. Be the next thing I'd like to move towards. Would be adding a backend actually to this, so that we aren't testing on our server, because I don't know if you can hear it, but my fan is going crazy in my computer right now. We'll go ahead and do another module, so we're going to pass that zip through. I want to take a look at this module folder. Here you can see this is the folder that our file is actually going to, our zip file is going to. It's being put there, unzipped, and then looked through, tested upon, and then deleted, so we have a nice clean workspace for the next module we go with. And so let's go ahead, we're going to pass in a couple more modules. Oh, so that's running. let's go ahead and now let's go to our modules. We have this module, this fail module, and our pass module. So this is where we actually implement the blockchain. Each module I actually have set up to be its own blockchain. So something that happens with like Jenkins CI or different CIs is when you're running these tests, you get or these builds, you get a lot of like build artifacts or like testing artifacts or just different things. You're pushing stuff to different repositories, you're pushing code, or you just have messages you need to send. And you end up with this large stack of different stuff for each run. And so I thought a cool way to implement that with the blockchain would be to, for each block would actually represent a run. And it could be something where you could put build artifacts inside of, or different like statuses. And so this is actually what I did. I have a status, so our fail module is failing, so I went with the last block, which is our last test, and we're getting that status basically. So we can see that our fail module failed and our pass module passed. So just like we expected it to. I'm actually going to go back to the home, and I'm going to put in a different fail module so you can see it's the same name. But this fail module, what I did is I switched that expect to be false to expect to be true, so we should now see it pass. So we're going to go ahead and test it, and it's running through. One thing I'd like to add would be something here for users to be able to see. So here we have this status passing. So it worked exactly how we thought it would. And so like I said, we went to the last block, we saw that it changed, and then we were able to implement that. And so let's go back to the home, and let's run this fail module a couple more times, just so I can show the other way I implemented the blockchain. Just kind of show that it can be used for a lot of cool different things for these tests. Just to show progression of how like a test is going. So we're running it one more time, and then let's go ahead and do our search module. And so I am going to search the fail module, and so we'll submit. And now here you can see this is actually every single test that we've ran, and each test has its own block in the chain. So it says none here because when I implement the test, like the first time it runs, it looks and it goes, do I have a module with this name? Yes or no? No. Alright, let's create the blockchain. Let's add the Genesis block, and the status is none. So it's running none. Then that first time it runs, it then adds a new block. Every time it runs, adds a block to the blockchain. It failed. It failed. Then we had it so it passed, then it failed, and then we have it passed. And so we